Shabbat Shalom and greetings to you all. I hope Sandra had a great birthday. And coming up very quickly will be the age of seniority for a great world scholar, the one and only Martin, historian, musician, a great benefactor of humanity. Happy birthday. I am thinking of you. Well, we're now halfway through the 3 weeks of summer mourning that heralds the darkest day of the Hebrew calendar, Israel's own 9/11, the 9th day of the 11th month. Yes, the 9th of Av is coming. Now, the 3 weeks leading up to it this year run from July 1st to July 22nd, and that means that we're at about the 1st of Av right now, the beginning of the month of Leo, the lion. These are considered 3 weeks of mourning that culminate with the infamous 9th of Av. So what happened on the 9th of Av that makes it so bad? Well, we had the destruction of both the first and second temples in Jerusalem, the expulsion of the Jews from England in 1290 by King Edward. And some people think the Brits have been relatively anti-Semitic ever since. The Spanish Inquisition and the expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492 by King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. And of course, we know that's when Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And then in 1942, 450 years later, the deportation of the Jews from the Warsaw Ghetto to the Treblinka extermination camp began. Well, that's quite a bit all on one day. And it's the only time of the year that you can actually go to synagogue and hear the Book of Lamentations read. And now, it's interesting because this is such a dark and horrible day, and it's followed up on the 15th of Av, which is one of the happiest days in the Jewish history and calendar. And we're going to talk more about that as we get closer. For now, suffice it to say that it represents the rebirth after destruction and is the ultimate day of new beginnings. It's the day of love, and the Talmud actually considers it to be the greatest festival day of the year. Now this week, we end the book of Numbers with a double reading. The journey is pretty well over. This week we read about vows. Vows made by men, vows made by women. And we have the Midianite War, and we see the walk back of women's rights that we saw given last week. That's a strange ending. It's somewhat anticlimactic. The slave mentality of the people, their rebellions, their rejection of the land, the development of Moses' character and of his relationship with God, the challenges to his authority, the miraculous events and the continuous divine nurturing, the entire theme of the journey from Sinai to the promised land itself, all of these things seem to be left without a finish at the end of Numbers. Now, when we enter the book of Deuteronomy next week, we can see it as different. And I think the original 5 books might have been 3 books. Genesis, Exodus, and Numbers. They tell a story. Leviticus was a manual for the priesthood. And Deuteronomy, well, it's one of 2 things. It's the original writing by Moses, or it's the required book written by one of the kings. And it certainly is the missing book of the Bible found hundreds of years later. But that too is another story. But first, let's all gather. Spirits of those of all faith and no faith, of hopes, dreams, and wishes. Let's take a moment and invite the collective consciousness of spirit seekers to come together in a showing of faith, of love, as a community, a chavura, of fellowship, when we express our nature of kindness, compassion, thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, and wishes that unites us all in this community house of Spirit Beth Ruach. So once again, please do go ahead and invite everybody you know, physically, psychically, emotionally, spiritually, to gather and share from Psalm 133, V'hine matov. Hine matov u'menai shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine matov u'menai shevet ahim gam yachad. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters together. Community, together. And we are a community together, my friends. So as a community, let's all spread love, goodwill, and fellowship to the entire world. And let's call for healing and renewal for everybody we know. Think of whoever you can who needs healing and renewal or just goodwill, or even just love. Focus on them. Call their names. It is not just for people. It's for our pets. It's for the earth. It is the healing of the earth, the tikkun olam that is part of the genetic makeup of our people. For Scotty, for Ronnie, for Ben, for Juliet, for Martin and the bee. And of course, make sure you include yourself. You need renewal too, friends. We all need renewal. It is the kindness, healing, wishes, goodwill, and love that we all send out that circles the world finding those in need. So thank you, each of you, for all you do, for all you care. Because the world is a world of spirit, and spirit never dies. Me, Shapira, Avotenu, Makor HaBracha, Limotenu. May the source of strength bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage. Make our lives a blessing. The renewal of body. The renewal of spirit. And I say, Amen. Yishaberach, let us all have our spirits renewed, my friends. Remember, this is your setting aside just a little bit of sacred time in your own little sacred space to talk to whoever or whatever you happen to believe in. It's a part of your goodwill, your intention, your kavanah for the universe. Now this week, as we read mattot, massei, the tribes and the journey, we are thrust back into what this great book started with, words. At the beginning, God called all of creation into being by sound, by utterings, by speech. We read about vows, words, creation. They bind us, they transform us. They celebrate our birth, our accomplishments. They join us in matrimony. They recap our lives. Is there anything more powerful, my friends, than words? Words are flowing out like endless rain. Into a paper cup they slither. While they pass, they slip away. Across the universe, pools of sorrow, waves of joy, drifting through my open mind, possessing and caressing me. Jaguru Divan, nothing's gonna change my world. 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 Well, you know what? That's not true. Words and vows will change your world. Numbers 32. Should a man take a vow, or make an oath to the Lord, or take upon himself a binding pledge, he shall not profane his word. According to all that issues from his mouth, he shall do. Your word is real. It is palpable. It has substance. The pronounced word, what comes out of the mouth, is a real entity with legally binding force. So how did Kol Nidre come about? To allow the opposite, to allow the complete nullification of vows. Now, interestingly, it is considered one of the most important prayers of the year, but there's actually very little in Jewish literature to support the elevation of this Aramaic legal formula. Now, some think it's tied to the Inquisition of 1492 and the story of the conversos, allowing those who converted to Catholicism to save themselves to annul that conversion. And that's really when it became popular. But we do have evidence that the prayer was said at least 500 years earlier. It's just it wasn't considered to be an integral opening of the most solemn day of the year until the Middle Ages, when it was more important for people to be able to do. It also points to the third commandment, the one about do not lie. Kol Nidre Va'esarei Ush Ruei V'che Rabbi V'kol Rabbi V'kidu say V'chinyuei Nidana Acharina Urasana Alna Shatana Miyom Kippurim Ve'ad Yom Kippurim Haba Aleinu L'Tova. The annulment of vows. Now, There are circumstances that we read about here in which a woman's vows may be annulled by her husband or father, but it's specific. There is not a general annulment mechanism. Now, though the formulation is rather compressed, the clear sense is really summed up like this. If the husband remains silent when he hears the woman's vows, and only afterwards annuls them, the vows are still binding. And should she now ignore the vow, it is he who bears the consequences of the violated commitment, having led her to think that the vow is no longer binding. For the most part, we call vows sacred vows for a reason. We view them as sacred. Our promises still have weight. And in this case, there's just the special provision for women, kind of a bit of a preliminary rollback to the rights they gained, last week. I don't care if you never come home. I don't mind if you just keep on rolling away on a distant sea, 'cause I don't love you and you don't love me. You cause a commotion when you come to town. You give them a smile and they melt. And the lovers and friends are all good and fine, but I don't like yours and you don't like mine. La la, la la la, la la, la la, la la la, la la. Oh, I don't care what you do with your nights. I don't care how you get your delights. I'll just leave you alone. I'll just let it be, 'cause I don't love you and you don't love me. I got a problem. Can you relate? I got a woman calling love hate. We made a vow we'd always be friends. How can we know that promises end? Promises, vows. And then a very unusual thing occurs in Numbers 31:1. God tells Moses to go and destroy the Midianites, and then he will die. Wreak the vengeance of the Israelites against the Midianites. Afterwards you shall be gathered to your kin. Well, this is kind of out of the blue. Both parts of it. One that Moses is, God's giving him final instructions before he dies, and the other is this business is about killing, wreak vengeance, kill everybody. Now, Rashi wonders why the Moabites, who were the ones who engaged Balaam to curse Israel, aren't mentioned anywhere. It is perplexing. Well, Moses sends out the army and they kill every male. And the Israelites took the Midianite women captive and their little ones and all their cattle and their livestock and all their wealth they plundered. Great victory, right? Not. And Moses was furious with the commanders of the force. And Moses said to them, "You have let every female live. Look, these are the ones who led the Israelites by Balaam's word to betray the Lord's trust in the affair of Peor. And there was a scourge against the Lord's community. And now kill every male among the little ones, and every woman who has known a man in lying with a male, kill." Well, many commentators have puzzled over the fact that Moses, whose own wife is Midianite, should now show such inflexibility towards the Midianite population. There's never been a satisfactory answer given. And it just certainly points to certain things. It points to the harshness of treatment for ritual crimes, including the execution of persons with no evil intent, including babies in this case. But this has been one of the hardest elements of the Torah for people to comprehend in the past 2,000 years. Since the destruction of the last temple, we've lost the feeling for holy zones and sacred boundaries. Now, whether we're better off or worse, the fact remains we're mystified and horrified by the seeming barbarism of a massacre of women and children that Moses commands here. The whole thing seems odd, out of place, out of character. And some of the sages say, and thankfully there's nothing that says that it was actually done. It's out of character. So then we're given a great concept. We have this huge downer, and then we get this brilliant concept, that of sanctuary cities. Now, not the kind in the news. Numbers 35:11. You shall set out for yourself towns of asylum you shall have, and a murderer may flee there, one who strikes down a person in error. And the towns will be an asylum for you from the avenger, and the murderer will not die until he stands before the community for judgment, and the towns that you give, 6 of asylum you shall have. Well, towns of asylum for accidental death, to prevent blood vengeance. And the term used, goel hadam, is the blood avenger. Blood vengeance was a form of vendetta justice executed by the family of the victim, and this system was designed to prevent unwarranted blood vengeance and ensure that a trial took place. The shedding of human blood was a special thing to God. We saw that with Cain and Abel. We saw that to God, murder is not only a sin against the victim, it's a sin against the earth. Spilt blood impurifies the land. God's tenting among the people here. And you shall not make the land impure in which you are living, in which I tent, because I, the Lord, tent among the children of Israel. So, it's to protect an accidental death, like the person who commits it. Now, the book ends with chapter 36 throwing a slight revision to the victory won by the daughters of Zelophehad last week. Yes, the women can inherit, but they must marry within the tribe so that the land never leaves the tribe. See, the case of inheriting daughters puts a certain strain on the patriarchal system, and biblical Israel was patriarchal through and through, so that if they choose to marry outside their tribe, they lose their legacy, and it passes to their father's brothers instead, because the lottery for the land was based upon tribe and individual within the tribe. It's a throwback for rights, but it's also an extremely unsatisfactory end to a great journey. They're camped on the edge of the promised land, but they never attain it. Instead, we're left with the reality that the journey is itself the unifying element of this book. It functions both through time, by its chronology of events, and space, by the geographical placement of the events along the route of travel. To organize the episode into a related story is the connecting line of cause and effect that runs through it, so it can be read both as individual stories and as a meaningful chain of events. The journey is therefore transformed horribly for the Exodus generation, from a short trip, a 3-day trip to the promised land, into a lengthy movement with no end until death. They are undeserving of bondage and unequipped for freedom. But these are the only 2 known conditions of residence in a land in their world. And this dilemma leaves them in an interim state, on a journey without a destination. Yes, the world is sacred, and so is everything in it. Express your gratitude. Light a candle, make a wish, celebrate your life and the lives of those you love. Share your feelings with them. Live free, be free, honor your freedom, be well, be happy, and be blessed. Share and honor the light and all who live in the light and continue to shine. Continue to send everybody you know goodwill and love. Pray for peace and freedom for everyone. And end to terror and hatred. Remember, friends, we're a community. We learn together, we celebrate each other, we love each other, we share this ride together, men and women equally. So let's send out love, not fear. Send out peace, harmony, goodwill, and healing to all who need it. And please do. Learn to forgive and learn to love, including yourself. Open your hearts. Honor the relationships of your life and tell those you love that you love them. Take advantage of the time you have and enjoy the journey. We take the twists and turns and the patterns that weave through the fabric of our lives in our effort to grow, to learn, to be, to love. So please do love. Now, bless you all. Have a fantastic week. A week of love and light, a week of peace, a week of miracles. Examine your intentions and use them to imprint your will on the universe. We set in motion all that happens in our lives. Our intention, our kavana, our cause, our effect, everything is linked. As I've said, you always have time to forgive and to be forgiven. You have the knowledge of what is good and bad, so acknowledge what you have done wrong to yourself, to God, and to any person you've wronged, and ask forgiveness. But do so with sincerity, accountability, vulnerability. Forgive those who've hurt you as you learn to be forgiving and to be compassionate. The secret of forgiveness, compassion, and peace is in acceptance. Can you accept yourself, other people in the world just as they are? Can you accept life just as it is without trying to control it? If you do, you can experience the peace that acceptance brings. So do not stop your journey. Do not stop moving towards your promised land, your home. Keep on dreaming, my friends. Keep on being. Keep sharing. Keep teaching. Keep spreading joy and goodwill. Do not follow fear. Follow love. It's always there in front of you. And remember to have faith and unwavering adherence to principle, just as I have faith in the principle of love and of all of you. Act with purity of heart and mind. Despise none. Defraud none. Hate none. Cherish all. Honor every child of God, every creature of the earth. May all people know peace in this year. And may you nurture kindness and love everywhere you go. And work to be present in your body. Expand your heart, quiet your mind, Because the deepest source of real power, my friends, lies in consciousness and the ability to be mindful, to be aware, to be present in all of life's circumstances. So make the most of your time in this life. Continue to touch and transform lives around you. You're never alone. You are forever blessed, and you have the ability to bring blessing to everybody you meet. Health, love, renewal to everybody you come across. We're all energy, and energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. Your words are your power to transform, to love, to bless. So be generous. Bless others and bless yourself, and love with the heart. We're all part of a greater whole. Embrace love, not fear, forgiveness, not anger. Be there for someone, because someone will always be there for you, whether you know it or not. And continue to explore faith and belief. And do not accept shame as a natural state. Whatever you feel others have felt, whatever you've experienced, others have too. We share together. We learn together. We help each other. We are each of us trying to find love and acceptance and support we all have or could have. That special someone in our lives. So find them and tell them what they mean. And remember, you are never alone on your journey to the promised land. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue. And the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why, oh why can't I? Well, you know what? You can. Be happy, be healthy, be helpful, be kind, be loving. Imprint your will on the blank canvas of life and keep celebrating being free to be you. Happy birthday, Martin. Shabbat Shalom and blessings to you all. Take care. We'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.